Ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Georgia May to the post of chair. Now, the post of chair is perhaps the most integral of all, keeping the exec in check, running smooth and working with the youth. It's a subtle balancing act between the various elements of the JCR, pushing, the pulling, the loud, the too loud, the one who ensures shit gets done. This year, that balancing act has been phenomenal. How Luke has managed to balance Tilly and Hannah Schofield Newton, no one's ever known. But there now comes a time when someone else must take up that mantle. Someone with exceptional people skills. Needed to chair 10 different opinions. Someone involved in every aspect of college. And someone clearly organised enough to ensure the exec smooth running for a year. Well then perhaps we should be voting for someone who fulfills and exceeds every one of those criteria. Matt Henry may think he's a hard man, but balancing an exec with big egos is no problem when, as Georgia has, you've previously interviewed hitmen in Cape Town Township. Proving your commitment to college life isn't hard when, allow me a breath, you are social sec of the Women's Rugby Club, social sec of the Croquet Club, an open air rep, a freshers rep, senior open air rep, and in charge of line and winter decorations. Georgia has proven time and time again she is one of the most approachable and dedicated people out there. Every fresher who came across her warmth, kindness, and violent ginger hair during Freshers Week will know exactly what I'm talking about. Her friendly yet authoritative manner is why she's been chosen for so many positions of responsibility within college. These qualities combined are a rare gift and are ones that are perfect for the position of chair. Some people occupy positions, Georgia excels in them. No threat gains as many fresher friend requests as she did. Wakes up the morning after a GMA social and thinks, wow, I do feel good. No wonder the college has entrusted in her the responsibility of running open days and showing it the next tap-winners at this is basically. Clearly then, there was no one suited to such a vital no one suited more such a vital role than Georgia. She's got a clear and proven love for Hatfield and possesses the charisma and control needed to ensure the smooth running of your JCR exec. Thank you.
Before I start, I think there's a few things about Freddie I actually to introduce to you. One, in case you hadn't actually noticed, he is very, very Scottish. The second is, he's only ever been on the formal exec once, and as Tuesday night Clue goes, we went to see if he was going to come out with us, and we found him on the floor in his bathroom, in just his boxer pants and his Muppet socks. Finally, if you ever want to ask Freddie anything about his exec position or anything about him, it's quite easy this time of the year because he's just started his health kick, so if you see a man running through college in a hideously tight yellow running top, that's your man right there. More importantly, why would he be a perfect member of the exec to start with? Freddie's incredible fun, and I think he would make a great member of the exec. He may epitomise Scottish humour, but he does it in a way which everyone enjoys, and everyone that knows Freddie knows how well they get on with him. He's also so enthusiastic about college. He's regularly coming up with those lines that everyone knows about Hatfield, and he does it all the time in a way that just sheds light on him so well. And also, he has great musical input, which I think would be really useful for the JCR. As a budding member of Kinky Jeff, and also, according to him, the best guitarist in the world, I think he'd bring input which would be really useful. But more importantly, why would he be great at chair? He is meticulous and very unbiased in all the work he does. When we were signing our house contract, he went through every clause, agonisingly slowly, checking that it was all correct. And it's through work like that that it can all work in the exec, and he can look after all the JCR work. He's also committed and very willing to earn all the hours when he was running the beer festival. Sorry about that. When he was running the beer festival, I've never seen anyone promote endlessly to make such a successful event. And finally, in a quote from his manifesto for Open Air Rep, he says he won't let his degree get in the way of his education, but also he won't let his education get in the way of his degree. I think that sums Freddie up really well. That he works hard, but he also plays hard. So not only would he be a great member of the exec, looking after all the things to do with chair, but he'll make a great fun member of the exec that we could all enjoy next year. And that is why you should vote for Freddie Thompson.
Thank you very much. I'll ask you questions on behalf of Luke Fastley. According to the standing orders, what are the guidelines regarding how JCR meetings are publicised? And that's first to Freddie.
I believe that they have to be, the agenda is written up no less than 48 hours beforehand. Signs need to be put up, no fewer than 4 days before the meeting is scheduled to take place. There needs to be a minimum of 2 posters in public places throughout college, one of which should be seen by livers out, so possibly in the bar. That about covers it, I think.
Can I use this? Yeah, my voice is not very good, sorry. I think Freddie's right, apart from, I think it's 10 days before that you hand out the notices about the date. But yeah, that's basically it, I think.
Georgia, to you first. At present, chair is completely impartial. How can the chair contribute to the exec without infringing on this impartiality? And how crucial do you see this impartiality?
I study PPE, and to me, political philosophy is actually quite a passion, as lame as it sounds. But to me, scrutiny is the most important part of politics, and to scrutinise properly, you need an independent body. I have experience in the civil service, which basically does this. And the chair is meant to facilitate each and every member of the exec, making sure that no one gets more say than the other. And I do this by being aware in every exec meeting of who's saying what and which maybe who's getting more say. And basically try and shut anyone who's speaking a bit too much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to agree with that. Essentially, in any proper democracy, you need to have a good balance of power. And the chair position is essentially a judiciary. And I do Arabic in politics, so in the wake of the Arab Spring, for instance, constitutions are popping up everywhere. And I'm extremely geeky in my research of them. So I see it as basically the glue that holds the entire JCR together, and I would be very diligent in my checking.
Part of the chair's job is to run JCR meetings and advertise them effectively. Often social media and incentives like food are used, but how do you personally aim to increase attendance? To you, Freddie, please.
2 things jump out at me. First of all, the incentives already used, but more so the fact that a lot of people don't know what you're getting out of a JCR meeting. So I think the best way to get people there on the night in the annex would be to have them in the bar anyway, at first that is. So I think more sort of full college socials around sort of on the same day, maybe just following on from a JCR meeting, open mic nights, pub quizzes and things like that. But for me the main thing about getting everyone in together is participation. I think that there needs to be a firm drive to get more people putting forward manifestos and people really caring about motions which are being put forward. So of course I would publicise that and let people know all of their rights and everything, so that there would be considerably more participation and therefore more attendance.
I agree with Freddie entirely there. I also would try and make sure that we organise meetings around all college socials and any other social that might be going on, but not at the rowdy part of it. I'd also try and continue what Luke's done by being, well, not as funny as Luke, but I try to be. I'd also, if you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll know how annoying I've been about lining up to sign up. But I'd probably carry on, but it'd be as long as I can get away with being, without being too annoying. I would also, as many posters as possible. I like artwork, so I publicise a lot through that, and encourage livers out through socials again. And yeah, I even mentioned earlier to my housemate that I would attempt to learn a new party trick for every meeting, so that that's an incentive to watch me make a fool of myself. And she made it to me, so there we go.
Any questions for me?
Hi guys. So what are your views on the deadlines for the submission of manifestos, and how lenient would you be towards this?
Obviously a deadline is a deadline, and as soon as you start making allowances, then you lose all authority. So the deadline will be stuck. I think something I've noticed by being open day senior rep is that a lot of people not that they don't care enough to look at the deadline from the emails, but sometimes when the emails have a lot in them, there's too much to read and people just don't pay enough attention and don't look look out for it then. So things like freshers rep, I was thinking, because other colleges do things like they have a 2 AM deadline at the castle. So I'd say I'd look to do more fun things like that, so people would be more aware of the deadline because it's more of a big issue. And yeah, but obviously you can't make acceptances for one person and not another, so deadlines.
Yes, I'd say that deadlines are deadlines, and that maybe not quite so sort of, I don't want to say frivolous ways of doing things, but yes, they are very serious, and I think that anyone who's actually serious about applying for a role should be serious about a deadline. They are publicised and they would continue to be. It's up to them.
Any further questions from you? Yes, Alex.
Okay, so as chair, you obviously have to stick to the rules. How would you distinguish between hearing about rule breaking that you hear as Georgia and Freddie, or that you hear about in your JCR chair role? So I'll give an example of that for you. So say you've heard about a candidate who's running for an exec position, who's potentially been canvassing or campaigning for that position. You hear about that through a friend who's told you, say in like passing. How would you distinguish between being chair in that position and being your own individual person?
Well, for canvassing and campaigning, it is actually against the standing orders. So I bring that to the attention of the JCR exec. However, if it was other things, that you can't let that get in the way. Any application should be taken seriously. Any hearsay should be completely disregarded. I would completely disregard it, and it's up to the voters at the end of the day.
Yeah, it would depend on how serious the rumour was, if it was a rumour, or if I actually heard it myself, then obviously I'd take it up with the person as chair, I would put the chair head on. But yeah, canvassing is against the rules, and if it is actually happening, they can't be allowed to run. But if it was just a rumour, potentially inquire into it, see how likely it is that it was true, and then do my best to try and work out what the truth was, and then go by the standing orders.
Any questions from the floor? No? Any further questions? In which case you have 2 minutes in which to speak in Georgia.
I'm going to keep it short because it's quite a long night, but I basically wanted to say that I know that I think my presence in college, if I have one, is probably quite a social one at the moment, but I'm aware that chair is a serious and a social position, so I want to emphasise the fact that I'm really passionate about politics, and I plan to do my dissertation in democracy next year. I do have a serious head. Like I've done, as Sam pointed out, work experience in human rights in Cape Town, and I've worked in civil service, and although I seem like the pale, big-haired girl that's a bit too keen for things sometimes, and socials, I am a serious person, and I can follow standing orders meticulously and as diligently as the position requires. So that's it. Thank you.
Sorry. I'd just like to say that it's essentially a functional role, and I would really strive to do my best and get the job done. I understand that it's also a very fun and social position, and following on from Luke, it's going to be difficult for anyone, but I'd like to live up to the challenge. I'd like to thank you all for coming, and for Georgia for running against me. I couldn't think of a worthy opponent other than myself.